Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for clicking on this video. This is I Seth Kills, otherwise known as Nick, and today we're going to be talking about House of Dragon Episode 2. And I did do Episode 1 review, so if you haven't watched that yet, it would be much appreciated if you check it out. But on this review, it's going to be a spoiler review. We're going to try to kind of go scene by scene, talk about, what happens in the scene, and, maybe some things I liked, some things I disliked. But overall, just like the first episode, I did like this episode. It was a little bit slower than the first episode. Not too much excitement, mainly a lot of setup and dialogue. But the dialogue was good and the acting was great, so I got to give it up for that. When the episode starts, it actually starts off with the theme song, the original Game of Thrones theme song, and it has different graphics this time, which I thought was a smart decision that they didn't do it in episode one, that they brought it in episode two, because maybe if they brought it in episode one, it would kind of brought back, a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, I think, regarding episode eight. So I kind of think it was a good idea for them to do it episode two, even though it's just one episode difference. It was kind of a good idea that they waited. And the graphic shows this blood trail kind of going through King's Landing, and you're following this blood trail as it flows down to the crypt, I believe. So it's kind of cool. I enjoyed the new graphics for the intro scene. But the first scene starts you off at the beach somewhere, and it shows this hurt person on the ground being eaten by like maybe 50 or 100 crabs. So right away it starts off a little gruesome, where you're kind of hoping for excitement, seeing what happened, because there's a battle going on, people are already dead on the ground. So whatever, main event happened, it's already passed. So I was hoping to see the battle, or at least see something that, you know, shows what happened. But I don't even know who's really fighting, to be honest. I must have missed it. But I know once, the scene ends, they cut into the council meeting and they're talking about um, the death of the Lord Commander and of the Kingsguard, and they're talking about possible replacements. And Corlys Valerion, which is the hand of the king, he disagrees with the rest of the council members who don't want to send reinforcements, or basically doesn't want to send the Corlys Valerion's navy. They just basically don't want to do anything right now. Um, See what happens, I guess. But Damien also is talked about in this scene, and right now he's apparently taking control of Dragonstone, and Rhaenyra, sorry, during this scene, she interrupts while they're talking and says that maybe sending the navy, and kind of agreeing with Valerian and saying that maybe sending the navy would be a good idea to show force. Um, so she's kind of agreeing with him. They kind of bypass her idea and tell her maybe she should go choose or help choose a new knight for the Kingsguard. And maybe help choose also the Lord Commander, which I don't think they chose a Lord Commander, because they were, I think, just chose a knight. But maybe later on we'll see what other choices they have for the Lord Commander. I know they discussed some options, but I don't think that we actually meet the options in this episode just yet. But the next scene, they have Rhaenyra, um, kind of cute. She's on like a stepping stool because she's a little too short to look over the top of the ledge, and she's interviewing some possible knights. And I don't think she really asks the first two knights really anything. Um, she just kind of says no. But the third knight comes in and she asks, a couple questions, mainly if he's been in battle. And he shares that he's been in battle, and she chooses him just based on that fact that he's seen real conflict in his experience already. The next scene, they're in the king's meeting, and I'm sorry, not a king's meeting. The king is having a conversation with the daughter of the hand of the king, which is Alicent. Hightower. Hopefully, I'm saying that name right. But it's kind of an awkward scene, to be honest, because she's really young. But it plays out. She's talking to him and she accidentally drops something. They kind of touch hands. She's, obviously flirting with him a little bit in this scene, which also is a little bit awkward to watch. But it shows her still messing with her nails too as she's kind of doing this, because I guess she's doing this against her will, obviously, because her father wants her to proceed having a relationship with the king and getting his good graces. So I don't know if she actually has feelings for the king or not, but she does play it off as genuine. So I guess we'll find out a little bit more in the future. But the next scene shows Rhaenyra with Alicent, and it's kind of a cool little background that they have and how they made up the set, because it has a bunch of candles, so it's kind of really nice in a way. I guess it's an area where people go to pray, and Alicent's Hightower, she tries to talk with Rhaenyra. I guess it's been a half a year since her mother's died, and she, tells Rhaenyra, that her dad is obviously going to remarry. It's part of his obligation. So I guess she's kind of like, testing the waters with Rhaenyra, trying to see if she can get her thoughts, I guess. And Rhaenyra does not think that she was chosen, well, hates the fact that she was chosen because she's basically the only option besides Damien. She, I believe at least, wishes that she was chosen for her merits, for her intelligence, her tactfulness, which she does show in this episode, kind of being like the politician and the keeper of the peace. Alicent Hightower, shares with her that she usually comes to this place and tries to talk to her deceased mother, and recommends that Rhaenyra do the same. Try to communicate with her mom that she just lost. And Rhaenyra kind of breaks down in tears, says that she wishes that her father sees more than just a little girl in her, sees the adult that she's becoming. Alicent Hightower, she almost seems like she's trying to be like a mother type figure in this scene, maybe trying to prepare Rhaenyra for the future. But the next scene you show the king talking to Corlys Velaryon, which is the hand. And sorry, forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong. I'm still learning everyone's names here. But he tells the kings that enemies are basically circling them from all around, right? And he warns the king that they're vulnerable, especially because he's chosen Rhaenyra as her heir, or his heir, I should say. And she's being the first female chosen as the future heir. And he sees conflict basically brewing. And Corley suggests that they should unite their houses, and he wants him to marry his very young 12-year-old daughter to the king and unite the houses, kind of unite their strength. Next scene, you show the king talking to Rhaenyra, and it plays off like they haven't spoken for a while, and he even says it, since her mom actually passed away. So I guess about 6 months. And it's kind of sweet scene because, he shares how much he loved her mother, and shares how much he misses her mother. And Rhaenyra is very comforted hearing this, because she kind of felt alone in the fact that she misses and loves her mom. She doesn't really I guess she didn't really know where the king stood as far as how he felt about his mom passing. So they have this cute little scene, and they talk about choosing the new knight, Sir Criston, as one of the Kingsguard. I don't think he was chosen for Lord Commander. Then I think he was just chosen for like being a knight. Tries to talk to her, about her idea again about sending in, possible the Navy or some type of show of force over to the Freelands. But the king kind of shuts her down and says that you will learn, you know, kind of like I guess he's teaching her, or maybe she's a little bit above her pay grade, I guess. But the next scene, they cut in, and the next day, I guess, the king is seeing one of the maesters, and the maester is treating another infection. And last week, he had an infection in his back where it was pussing out. It was really bad infection that I guess he got from sitting on the throne with one of those swords sticking out. And in this episode, it shows that his, I think, left hand, and it shows that like his pinky, like these two fingers right here, are all kind of like black and like burnt almost. And they have him being treated by maggots, like eating the infection. So I don't know. I don't know if this guy's gonna last too long. It doesn't seem like it because I guess the next episode will have another infection in another place that, until he slowly withers away, I guess. But in this scene, he's talking to the hand of the king and talks about possibly a marriage with Elena. And, or is it Alina? Like I said, I'm still learning the names. So the king, the hand of the king wants him to marry his daughter, and then you have the leader of the navy that wants to marry his very young daughter. So the king is trying to make a choice basically. King looks to be a little bit afraid on what her daughter would think if he marries the hand of the king's daughter, the Hightowers. But he's kind of still debating. And the hand of the king, I feel that he's a little bit kind of like a manipulator. Obviously, I think everyone's a manipulator in the King's Landing, but he seems like he's got some type of secret agenda we don't know yet. So I'm definitely interested to find out what that is. In the next scene, you see the king talking to the leader of the Navy's daughter, which is Corlys Velaryon. See, I'm still learning the names. And this scene's a little awkward because she's really young. She looks like she's 10. They say she's 12, but she looks way younger than that. A little bit of awkward scene because she asks a lot of questions just like any other kid would, kind of like if they're back of the seat, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? The king is obviously not into it. I mean, who would be? She, asks, little tiny kid asks the king straight out. She wants to unite the houses and that she would bear him lots of heirs. And I gotta say, that scene really played uncomfortably. Next scene, you have Rhaenyra talking to the little girl's mother. I think her name is Elena. And she finds out that she doesn't like this whole thing either, that obviously she's too young, but almost in a way wants to do it. Like she's just kind of pretending that she doesn't want it. She wants the power, but she doesn't want to give up her daughter, but realizes the only way to get power is to give up her daughter, kind of thing. They have a little talk, says that male heirs will be sought out more than her, being the heir. And that, if they have a male heir, they're going to obviously choose, that male heir over Rhaenyra. And they have immediately kind of like this animosity you see brewing, says that men, will be the only one put on the Iron Throne before a woman rules. Says that her father is no fool. So a little bit, identity politics there, but I get it because it's part of the scene or part of the story. I mean, they don't want her to rule. But, I guess doesn't play off, too roll your eyesy. It makes sense. The next scene here, you have the king, and he's talking to Alicent again. Hightower, who's the daughter of the hand of the king, and talks about, the 10-year-old Elena, still in the scene. She's still messing with her nails. So I don't know if she's really liking the king. I mean, obviously she's nervous because, I guess when you're really nervous, some people bite their nails or do things with their hands or whatever. So maybe she's just nervous about the situation. I don't know if she really wants this. I mean, I guess who would, because the age difference is pretty drastic. Um, the king brings her. Well, sorry, she brings the king a gift, and it's like this dragon statue, which is kind of nice. I don't. It's probably she probably only did that because her dad wanted her to do that, but still a nice sentiment. The king seems to be kind of touched by this gift, so I guess the plan is working. The hand interrupts basically his daughter and the king and says that they're having a emergency council session. So they cut into the next scene, and in this emergency council session, they're talking about Damien taking over Dragonstone. They talk about his marriage, I guess, to I don't know if she's part of a big family. They call her a lot of names in the episode, but I don't know if she's part of any big house or anything like that. And I guess she's pregnant. And Damien wanted to, or is inviting the king to, I guess what, I guess it's to the wedding. It's not. I was gonna say baby shower or something like that, but it's not a baby shower. I guess they're, he's inviting them to the king to the wedding, and the council's kind of advising him not to. That it's a trap or whatever. But I haven't seen anything that really shows that there's any animosity, like, that they'll betray each other, like kill each other over the crown. I still feel that, the king loves his brother, Damien loves the king, Rhaenyra loves her uncle and the king. So I don't think um, there's like really any danger there yet. I mean, that's obviously could change, but I still feel like, they love each other. Um, the king wants to go talk to Damien, and the hand begs the king not to, and that he should send him instead. And the king goes ahead and sends the hand, which I think he should have went himself. I don't think his brother would have done anything. Well, at least that's what I think. I could be wrong. Um, and then the hand of the king and the daughter of the hand has the scene next, and they talk about the king trying to seduce him. I think her father wants her to kind of maybe go for it. I guess try to seduce, try to get the king in the sack. No, for lack of better words, try to lock down the marriage. Um, and then he also mentions in the scene talks about her nails and why does she do that. But I guess we'll find out because they keep showing her messing with her hands. So I wonder where that's going to lead to. Or maybe that's just a way for them to identify this character when the older character takes over, which I think is going to be played by Olivia Cook, which I do like Olivia Cook. A lot of things that she was in. I think she was in that one Steven Spielberg movie Ready Player One. So I did enjoy her in that movie. The next scene is Dragonstone. And I gotta admit, Dragonstone looks a little worse in this episode than in season 8 or season. I think we got first introduced as Dragonstone maybe the end of season 7. I could be wrong, but it looked a lot more real in season 7. Like there's no CGI at all. Like they were actually using an on location. This one, shows the bridge. That's the same bridge that we usually see, but the background looks all fake, like almost like it's CGI. So I wonder what that's about. Maybe it's just because of COVID, or they couldn't lock down that original location that they were filmed at last season. But it definitely looks a little different. The hand demands Damien leave Dragonstone. He demands the egg that they have. And he also calls his wife a name and demands that he doesn't marry her, and that the kid would be a bastard. So he's throwing a lot of insults. I think he's basically trying to start a conflict. Um, trying to start a fight basically with Damien. And the hand demands, um, that he give him the egg, and that. Oh, another thing too, where my brain totally farts. They actually show in this scene the dragon that Damien has, which is the red dragon. And the red dragon, I don't know his name, but he looks a little off. The CGI for the dragons for all of Game of Thrones looked honestly a lot better than the dragon in this show so far. Like every time they show the dragons, it just looks a little off, like a little bit cheap almost. So the dragon comes in and he kind of just stops the conflict from escalating. And then later on in the scene, Rhaenyra comes in with her dragon and sits her dragon right behind the hand and the people that he has protecting him. And she walks through them, has a little conversation with Damien, and they're talking Valerian. And basically says ultimately, hey, to get what you want, you have to kill me. So if you want to, take what you want, go ahead and kill me. I'm here. And he doesn't say anything, but he gives her the egg and just throws it at her like he would throw it at like a sister or a brother, and kind of walks off. So that to me, was very political. She de-escalated it. There was no bloodshed, which I think the hand of the king, I think he wanted bloodshed there. He wanted a conflict. The next scene shows Damien talking to his wife, where Daenerys in season 8 and season 7 were talking to Tyrion and the rest, and we're all having meetings. I don't know what you call that area, but it's that little meeting area that they usually met in. So they're talking in this room, and she's a little mad because obviously she got insulted a lot during that meeting, and Damien didn't really say anything to stand up for her. She definitely had a weird accent, so a little bit hard to understand. But I don't know what kind of accent that was, or if it was like an accent actually, you know, she was trying to force, because of Game of Thrones, like because of her wherever she's supposed to come from. But it was definitely a little bit off-putting because I couldn't make out some words, and I kind of turned it up a little bit. But she doesn't like the situation. She doesn't want gold. She tells him she doesn't want power. She just wants to be liberated. And I guess we'll kind of learn more about that later on. In the next scene here, they're in the king's bedroom, and he's with another lord. I don't know who this lord is. I didn't really catch the name. Not really a lord in any of the Game of Thrones, or like at least a lord name that I recognize. And he's talking to him about Lena. Well, he wants advice about who to marry. The guy that he's talking to tells him that Elena, which is the younger one, the 10-year-old, comes from the richest family, that they're very powerful, that marriage is obviously an obligation of the king. Says that if he declines, that her father will not take it well. He wants a direct line to the throne he shares with the king. The guy, the lord, he advises the king to marry Elena. He says that the princess, even though she's the heir, that she would ultimately agree with it. She knows that the king has to marry. And in this scene, the princess was announced that she's come back from Dragonstone, and the king didn't know that she even went to Dragonstone. So he kind of gets up and a little bit upset, and he goes and talks to Rhaenyra, and she shares with the king that she retrieved the egg without bloodshed. She tells the king that he forgot how alike that she is, like she's her mother, basically, how brave and, that she free willed, that even though the king didn't want her to do it, she still did it because she knew it was the right thing to do. So I think he appreciated that. Um, Princess was, pleased to know that her father misses her mother. It kind of shares that moment again that they had previously in the scene. Talks about, they also talk about him marrying um, and doing it to really protect their claim to the throne and also protect his daughter, Rhaenyra. And in this scene, it seems that Rhaenyra understands and supports her father. So it kind of plays that, he might be marrying Elena, which is the Corlys Valerion's daughter. Like I said, I'm still learning the names. And so it kind of seems like that he's leaning more towards marrying the very young girl. The next scene, they're in the council. I think it's probably the next day, and they're at another council meeting. And he says that tomorrow he has decided, or sorry, he says that tomorrow he will decide to take a new wife. While he's looking at Rhaenyra with support, and Rhaenyra looks like he's supporting him as well. He says that he tends to marry Alicent Hightower. So I kind of felt that he was leaning more towards that because I don't know why else the episode would have a couple. Well, I think they probably had 2 or 3 scenes where the king and her were talking, and she was kind of flirting with him. So I kind of felt that that's where he was going to choose, even though politically and strategically it probably would have been a better idea to marry Elena. So I guess we'll see where this decision takes us. But the hand of the king, oh, not sorry, not the hand of the king, but Elena's father, Corlys Velaryon, he shows that he's kind of angry after he hears this announcement, and he kind of storms out of the room. Before he storms out, he tells the king that he's the most powerful. He has the most powerful house in the realm, and he kind of just leaves after he says that. So he's not too happy. And then at the end of the scene, even Rhaenyra is unhappy with this decision as well because I think she thought that the king was going to marry um, the now I forgot his name, Corlys Valerion's daughter. So even she thought that. So the scene ends and it shows at the very end, and this is the end of the episode now, but it shows Corlys Valerion talking to Damien, and they're talking, and they're kind of keeping, Damien a secret in the scene, like he's saying if Valerion is, talking, says a few things, and it's kind of keeping who he's talking to a secret at first. But you find out it's Damien, and they're talking about how Valerion came to the top, how he got his success and his strength, and he wants them to work together. He wants to send his army to the free cities at the Stepstones. He thinks that the king is giving the free cities power by not doing anything and not allowing him to send his navy. So obviously he wants to send his navy. Says that they both are the second sons, and that the second sons will make their own opportunity, and that if they don't make their own opportunity, nothing will happen. Basically, might be paraphrasing that a little bit, but pretty much said somewhere along those means. But yeah, that's the episode, guys. It was a little slow, but a lot of things did happen. A lot of conversations were held. A lot of dialogue was said. A lot of things were set up for future episodes. So curious to see what happens. I'm definitely afraid that they still may drop the ball, and we might, you know, because from what I understand, this is going to be something very short. Like this is only going to have like 3 or 4 seasons. Um, the person who plays Rhaenyra and Alicent or Allison, one of those, is actually going to be changing. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic when the actors change. Because I know Mike Smith is still going to be in the show regardless, because he's still going to be playing the same character. But obviously, since you have different actors, you're going to have different chemistry. So we'll see how that chemistry plays out and also how the story plays out. And there's obviously a lot of animosity brewing between the characters. The king is, obviously sick and unwell and doesn't look like he's getting any better because, I mean, it's already 2 episodes and he already has 2 infections in 2 different places. So you got to start thinking maybe those infections are going to be internal. And if it's internal, I don't think they can do anything about it. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, in episode 3, we get something a little bit more exciting. Maybe see a battle. Um, I don't know. But we'll see what happens, guys. If you guys did enjoy this review, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And I usually kind of talk off the cusp. So my last 2 reviews, which my one before this was the Avengers review, which I kind of wrote like a mini script. And this one, I kind of wrote like a mini script as well, just kind of bullet points that I kind of wanted to bring up in various scenes, kind of like a play-by-play, just so I don't forget things that I kind of wanted to touch on. So it's a little bit of a new structure for me. So if you guys enjoyed it, if you guys did, like I said, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will catch you on the next one, guys.